Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to EduTalks Now. Today we are in conversation with Dr. Adish Agarwal, Special Counsel, Government of India, a jurist, Chairman of All India Bar Association, Convener of Indian Council of Jurists, Chairman of Indian Legal Information Institute, Secretary General of All India Senior Advocates Association and the Patron of All India Law Students Association. Sir, under your able and dynamic leadership, ICJ and its calendar of activities has attained a significant recognition in the world of judiciary. You are also spearheading the All India Bar Association, which has arranged visits of more than 100 jurists. You have had the credit of getting Hassan Abdul declared as the holy city from the Interior Minister of Pakistan, Senator A.R. Rahman Malik in 2012. These accomplishments are not easy to achieve, of course. Please share some excerpts from your journey and experience.
See, I belong to a very middle standard family. I was born in Rohtak in Haryana. My father was first generation lawyer. Although my elder brother is a lawyer, all our now family members are the lawyers and the judges. But this is to practice in law. This is a challenge to everyone. It is not an easy job. And I always tell the budding lawyers that they should be very sincere to their duties. Whether they are charging single penny or they are not charging or they are charging very hefty professional fees, but they should perform their duties with sincerity and dedication. They have to be loyal with the interest of their clients. Sometimes we see the lawyers involving in corrupt practice. They mix up with other side, they take little amount from other side and weaken the case of their client. This is not good for our democratic system, because Indian judicial system is foundation of our democracy. The ruling party will create so many hurdles for the general persons or who were opposing them in election. So the legal fraternity is supposed to act as custodian of our constitution and custodian of Indian democracy.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you were declared defeated only by 2 votes by Mr. P.H. Parikh. How justified the decision was? Could you please say a word about it?
See, I never think about these things. These are very petty things for me. My friends asked me to contest against Mr. P.H. Parikh because he was spending too much money in election. He used to adopt so many wrong ways to win the election. And earlier he was talking about the common lawyers, but actually when the common lawyers of the country found that in the garb of common lawyers he is misusing the position and he is being elected by wrong means, and then by posing proximity with the judges he was trying to procure cases. A person who started his life as a lawyer with about 100 rupees or 200 rupees and then claiming that he has so much money, he has made so much money. So everybody can imagine that you can't make such big money in normal course. So I contested, although that because when money power is used, and I am sorry to say that the counting was totally in a wrong way. 30 votes in each EVM were put, then 30 votes in each EVM, 330 votes. And before declaration of the result, my friends told me that when I came to know, my friends told that the opposite camp has put 30 votes in each EVM, means 330 votes in advance. So I asked the committee to have recounting, but in writing before the pronouncement of the result. And under the People's Representation Act, if you have a margin of less than 1%, it was the legal duty of the returning officer to have recounting. But this was not done. But I took it in a very sportsmanship. I am not challenged, although some other candidates of the vice presidency and the secretaryship, they challenged that system, and they asked that these EVMs should be retained and that should be checked. In spite of the orders of the Honorable High Court, those machines were returned back, knowingly fully that if these are retained and these are checked, then that malpractice will be exposed. But these are very petty things. We should not fight. If somebody is very much interested, let him win by wrong means.
I can't miss this opportunity to put up this question to you. There are many hurdles today prevailing in our society. Being an esteemed part of judiciary today, what amendments in law you think should be brought in to make India a better country, and how easy do you think it is to bring them in?
See, we have good laws. It is only the problem is that we don't have proper implementation. Our government, our parliament, they have made very appropriate laws. We nowhere in the world, I am being the president of International Council of Jurists, I have had the opportunity of visiting different countries throughout the world. I have visited, I had talks with the judges, chief justices, the leaders of the bar. I visited all law schools in different parts of the world. I even visited jails to see what is happening in their country's jail. I can safely say, we are having the best facilities in our jails. If you go to Eastern Europe, you will see what the prisoners are staying in very bad condition. They don't see sun rays. They are staying in a cave of iron of 6 feet by 4 feet. We have given freedom to our females. We have given so much privileges to our weaker sections of the society. It is nowhere in the world. We are protecting the culture of minorities, micro-minorities, tribals. We are giving so many benefits to uplift them. We are having reservation. Even in Pakistan, they don't have.
So do you think, are we getting successful?
Yes. I feel within 10 years, we will be, and now today I am happy to see people are becoming more sensitive to their duties, because by having these televisions, television has some plus point and minus points. In our culture that is affecting, but people are coming to know the work culture in developed countries. Earlier, when we were small, we have seen if we are depositing or we are withdrawing rupees 10 from the bank account, it used to take about 1 hour or 2 hours, because the one officer used to sign the pass, and then PN will take that to another officer, and then it will come. Today the same officer, you go and present your check, the same officer will give you money after verifying your this. So work culture has improved. Earlier we used to be in lines for having rail reservation. Today you can book the ticket on from your mobile. You are not supposed to have the printout of the ticket. Just show that to ticket checker and he will accept. So our work culture has changed. Our people are becoming more sensitive to their duties. It is correct. Still, the people of Japan, they are more patriotic. They are more sincere to their duties. But we are also becoming very sincere. In developed countries, people are working for 5 days, but 6th day, Saturday and Sunday, they are not concerned, even if there is a fire in their office. But our population, if they see anything wrong is happening to a stranger, they will stand by him. So they will help others. There is still thinking of supporting us, because our people have money, while in developed countries today, due to economic crisis throughout the world, they have become bankrupt. People in America, London and other developed countries, people are suiciding because they don't have the funds. They have been thrown out from their jobs, and they were earlier getting salary of about, suppose, £5,000. Today, although they are getting the contribution from their government, but not to that number of pounds or dollars they are getting as a non-employment this thing. So very meager amount. So people are dying. They don't have the means to survive. So we have opened so many colleges. We have opened so many. Now a rickshaw puller wants that his son should get education in a good school. Earlier, very few people were thinking of getting the education. Today everybody, an illiterate also wants that his son or daughter or the grandson should get education. So we have very bright future, because Indian community work or can work 20 hours a day.
So when you talk about people being more sensitive towards their duties, when you talk about people helping the strangers, then what do you have to say for the corruption today? What do you have to say for people standing, watching tamashas when females are teased? What do you have to say when people don't react? They will see everything happening in front of their eyes. They don't take...
Don't expect that everyone...
So but majority of people today in society are not...
You see, this thing is nowhere in the world. What you are expecting from Indians, that you are not getting that expectation in any part of the world. In New York on 42nd Street, people are being killed by bullet. Nobody care to see also. They just hear people have the guts to see what is happening. Their people are not sensitive to check on what happened to this man. They are not ready to catch hold of the culprit. But India, still some people are there. So we are more sensitive to the people of other countries. Don't see what is happening here only. I am giving you the comparative study, because I have seen, I moved in nights also, in day also. I have worked with the teachers, I have worked with the judges, worked with the lawyers, law teachers. So we know what is happening in developed countries.
So you have been an eminent writer, from your writings about late Sri Rajiv Gandhi ji to Mother Teresa, Constitution of India to Right to Information. Please share a little about all these books.
See, first time I was the editor of my college magazine, Jyoti.
Okay.
That is the name of the magazine, which I was the editor of the college magazine in 1973 and 74. That is West College Rohtak, where I did my graduation. So, and I used to run English fortnightly, work called Socialist Age. I edited from 72 to 84. And I had the opportunity of typing myself the news item, articles, editorials, and getting it printed also. At that time printing was not like what we are having today. We can make the page on our computer. That used to be hand composing those days. Very difficult. First I will be typing, giving it to the composer. They will be giving me proof. Then I will be getting it set in a page and all. Even we used then block making. It is not like here negative and positive. We used to get blocks prepared from Paharganj or Nai Sadak and got it printed. Then posting, folding of the newspaper, putting the address by handwriting, affixing the stamp of 2 paisas only for each newspaper. This copy is being sent throughout India. So that is you develop then procuring the advertisements. Then in 84, I discussed with Mrs. Gandhi and sought her permission to write a book on her. I was working on that book, and during that she was killed. So my book, I had to rename the name of my book, Legacy of Indira Gandhi, and it was released on her first death anniversary by the President of India, Gyani Jail Singh, in yellow drawing room of Rashtrapati Bhavan, which was attended because that was the official function on 19 October 1985. So all about 70 ambassadors of different countries posted in India, then ministers, MPs, judges, they all participated. Then that was having the forward by Mr. Ashok, Mr. V.P. Singh. V.P. Singh was the finance minister and commerce minister, and Mr. Ashok Sen was the law minister. They contributed forward and preface. And then second revised edition, I did it in 1987. It was having the forward of N.D. Tiwari, the then commerce and finance minister, and Mr. Hanslal Bhardwaj, who was the law minister. It was released by Vice President of India. And my first edition, that was a special presentation ceremony to the Prime Minister, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, and that was the first function at 7 RCR Road, 7 Racecourse Road, because he just shifted there after, because that was number 1 Sadar Singh Road was converted into Mrs. Gandhi's memorial. So that was my first function of in Prime Minister House. 7 RCR was my book releasing, book presentation ceremony. Then my book, another was on Rajiv Gandhi and Assessment, which was released by Prime Minister Mr. Narasimha Rao, and special presentation to President of India, Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma. So I was happy that my work and the book on Rajiv Ji, its forward was contributed by the then Vice President of India, Mr. K.R. Narayanan, who rose ultimately as the President of India. So I was thrilled to have written such books which has got acclamation not only in India but in foreign countries. These book reviews were there on BBC on these my two books, BBC and other, even TASS, which is the biggest news agency it used to be from Russia. They also, Pravda also, Mrs. Gandhi's book, Pravda also wrote one article on that my book. And then Constitution of India, the Chief Justice of India wrote forward, Justice Balakrishna. It was released at Rashtrapati Bhavan, in which about 12 Supreme Court judges attended, and Chief Minister of Haryana attended, ambassadors from different countries attended, and forward and preface and second edition, third edition, like that is going on. So Lord is kind enough, the lawyers and the judiciary were kind enough to give me patronage. So I am really happy with my work.
So what would be your message to all the people who wish to pursue law about its scope and the success method?
This is very tough question because I have different views for different category of students of law. For females, I never suggest to go for litigation. I am very sorry to say. I always tell them to do law, do LLM, and then do PhD or NET and go in teaching line, because their working conditions as a lecturer are very limited. Very limited hours a day plus very limited days in a year they are supposed to work, because they have to look after. Because female I treat, they have more responsibility towards their home, towards their family, and then this is a secondary to earn and use time. And second, then they should go for judiciary, because judiciary, and like if you are in Delhi, posted in Delhi, no transfer, within Delhi your courtrooms can change, your court complex can change, but your house will remain same. The studies of your kids will not affect. Third, then they should go, third option, they should go for MNCs or public sector undertaking. But boys, also I always say, first for intelligent students, they should try for judiciary or administrative service. Then if they are unable, then they should go for service in multinational companies or public sector undertakings. And last should be, this is for the students coming from general families and not from the students coming from judges family, students coming from lawyers family. Their priority should be first to become a practicing lawyer. For others, it is very difficult job to be successful, because there is too many lawyers and work is becoming less.
Thank you so much, sir. So here we come to an end to the conversation with Dr. Adish C. Agarwal. Thank you.